dad grew up there in Sioux Falls.
Oh, cool.
So I used to go up there a lot. When I was a kid, we'd go straight up to like Spokane area, Washington,
Mm-hmm.
where my mom
Mm-hmm.
grew up. Beginning of summer vacation, then we'd travel across to Sioux Falls, and then we'd come back home, and it was a long journey, man.
At least the drive from Salt Lake to Spokane until you get to like Billings is nice. After that, pretty rough.
Just wish you could knock yourself out, man. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yes, you drove through Butte every summer then.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. And I was looking at maps of Montana yesterday actually for work too. I do construction work on cell towers, and we've got crews in Montana all the time. And this time of year it's like the state of Montana, like you'd be thinking like, okay, well, we could probably get out to the sites now. It's going to be fine. And then just about every site you pull up, it's like, no, that one's on a mountain. Oh, that one's still frozen.
Yep. We are, we were 55 to 60. Well, I don't think we ever got to 60, but we're in the 50s for most of the week this week when all of us are in the office, and then like
weekend
today,
time.
yes, it snowed last night.
Of course. Kids are about to go on spring break. Everybody's going to get a weekend. Let's drop some snow on them.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. We're going to, just in time for a weekend, it's supposed to snow and snow/rain for 4 days straight.
I'll right through. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, what's the not to cut straight to it,
No,
but
you're good.
what is the bagpiping world like in Montana? Do you have to go elsewhere to find? Because when you and I met, it was down here, Salt Lake City. So do you, like, is that typical for you? Do you have to go elsewhere to find gatherings of pipers, or does it happen a lot in Montana too?
No. I mean, I don't know. Piping in the West U.S. is, I feel like, is very similar. Regardless of where you're at, unless I guess you're on the coast, But yeah, we here in Butte, I'm like in the middle of the state. There's one competition in Hamilton every year, which is over. It's about I don't know, 2.5 hours away or so, and it's great. It's one of my favorite competitions. It's really scenic location. It's really pretty. And lots of really good bands and solo competitors there. It's a ton of fun, but that's really the only one. There's a like Celtic gathering or games or something, but I think it's just athletics in Kalispell, which is up north. That's it. And so that's why I go to Salt Lake every year. It's because it's like realistically, other than the Hamilton competition, Salt Lake is the closest competition. It's like 6.5 hours for us. So.
Man, yeah, that's a lot of journeying. I feel like, I mean, you live there, so you know better than I do. But as one who's driven over and through Montana a lot of times, I feel like it looks big on a map anyway. But I don't think people realize it's basically like a giant mound. There's more like what is there's more surface area than is actually portrayed by the borders.
Yeah,
It's just a big
absolutely.
place.
Yeah, I've never lived in a place where, the nearest town wasn't like less than 45 minutes away. That's not totally true, but for a good chunk of my life, that's been true. And so, my dad used to joke when we were growing up that we had to drive an hour just to get to a starting point.
Just to get started. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's absolutely how Montana is, so the Billings band, they're awesome. Great people. They're, working really hard. And I think they've gone to Salt Lake a couple times. They've gone to Vegas for the games there. I think they went to a couple others. So, I mean, like they're picking up that whole band and flying to Vegas for a competition. But I talked to them about, them and there's a band in Missoula too, about playing with them at some point. But to go to Billings is like 4 hours, 4.5 hours, and Missoula's 2. And, with 3 kids, that's not real tenable.
Yeah, that's a lot. So speaking of growing up and, your all the traveling you do with your dad, et cetera, where'd you grow up? And also tell me, like, give me some of that biopic kind of stuff.
Sure.
Was there music in the house, and did that music
Mhm.
include bagpipes? At what point did you encounter bagpipes?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
So I've been thinking about that a bunch recently after you asked me to come chat. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. You had an episode with Trevor, I think.
Mm-hmm. Trevor
Um,
Damas, probably.
yeah, and I'm when I was listening to it, I was like, man, this is very similar to like
Mm.
how I got into piping, which means I'm sure that this is how lots of people get into piping, right?
Mm.
So I grew up in southeastern New Mexico. So not
By the
if
way,
you
my favorite like flag / logo, definitely my favorite
really
license plates. I love the license plates in New Mexico. I think they're so classy.
they
The light
they
blue, I mean, with the
they've
yellow thing in the
yeah
middle. Yeah, I love
they've
that.
gone in and out because there've been some that are pretty that are it's like they fit more with like my part of New Mexico, the
Mm.
desert, like not the greatest looking scenic place in the world. But yeah, the flag is cool. The flag's definitely got a cool story. But
Yeah. Sorry. Go
no,
on.
you're good. You're good. So so I grew up there. We always had music in the house, but it was never bagpipe music, and it was never. I mean, maybe a little folky,
Mm.
maybe at times, but I mean, my parents, they both listen to classic rock, so that's what we listen to like 90% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we always had music, and my mom played the piano. So anytime we had family gatherings, oh, they're the greatest thing ever. Like Christmas every year, my mom would play the piano, and my one uncle would play the fiddle, and other uncle would play the guitar.
Oh, that sounds idyllic. That's awesome.
Oh, it was amazing. My grandma could play the piano. So, always had loads of music. And then I can't say exactly like how, like, folky Celtic music started. I started listening to it more, but I know, that, oh, this is kind of weird, but, I grew up rodeoing,
Oh, did
roping
you?
calves. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
Uh,
I'm excited to see how these dots connect. Yeah.
uh-huh. Yeah, because there's not, on the surface, not many connections.
Right.
But so one day when I was relatively young, I don't know, 10, 11 or so, I was out roping a dummy. So I don't know if you know at all what that
My,
means, but
my my neighbors had dummies, and we would go try to rope them.
okay.
But that's not everybody. So please
Yeah.
feel free to elaborate.
So we have a square bale of hay, and we put a calf head on it, like not a real one, a plastic one.
Oh, gruesome.
Yeah. And then you just practice roping it. Just, it's something you can do that, like, what does Andrew Douglas say? You want to remove all the other variables. So you take out the horse, you take out a moving calf. So you just are practicing one thing, right?
Mm.
And I do that for hours every day. I think that, like, my dad that would be his, like, you have to go rope the dummy. You have to catch the dummy 100 times in a row before you can, go to a friend's house or play video games or whatever.
That was like your extra homework, huh?
Yeah,
Go
exactly.
rope the dummy. Do you ever do the thing where you get on? Well, I mean, I don't know how little you were. Did you ever get on like a little kid bike and try to ride your bike past it and rope it as you were going by? Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. We tried all that. When you mix kids and horses and ropes, like, some crazy stuff happens,
Oh yeah.
But I was roping the dummy one day, and my mom had what's her name? Mary Grant, Christmas. You know who I'm talking about?
I'll do some verification on the side here real quick.
Amy Grant.
Amy Grant. Gotcha.
Yes. So my mom loved her Christmas album. She has a Christmas album that at the very end of the album, there's a tune where she sings, and then it goes into, I think there's a pipe band that plays Highland Cathedral.
Yes, I got that result just now. Yeah, she's got a Highland Cathedral track that's pretty popular. Yeah, that makes sense.
I remember roping the dummy in July, in New Mexico. It was like 115 degrees, and I'm listening to Amy Grant's Christmas album. And I
Of
would
course,
listen to,
as one
right?
does. Yeah,
Exactly.
typical
Christmas in July.
childhood.
Yes. Yeah. And I would listen to that track over and over. And I was like, I don't know what I like about this so much, but I just, dig it. And actually, funny aside about that, I'm in New Mexico, but I'd find a map, and to make Rope in the Dummy fun, because it's very repetitive, right? I'd take one of those big atlas maps and put it on our like outdoor patio table, and I'd go to every state and say, okay, I'm going to a pro rodeo here. And I remember I always did really well in Helena, Montana.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. But so I listened to that, and then what must have happened, because I enjoyed that one song so much, is that, Mom got some like Irish Celtic music or whatever for me to listen to. And I started listening to a lot of that.
Do you ever look back now and think like, I bet I was just driving Mom crazy middle of July, listening to that track over and over again. She was just like, let's get him something else, please.
Literally anything.
Yeah.
That and the Spice Girls, Little kids are weird. So I always I listen to loads of different music, and like Irishy stuff was always, like pretty heavy in the rotation. And so when I got older, because I didn't play any instruments growing up, which is surprising. I took piano lessons, and I have heard this from several other people that are not from my hometown. But I had to stop taking piano lessons because my piano teacher got caught selling drugs.
What?
I know. And the same exact thing happened to my wife. She quit taking piano lessons because her teacher in Butte, Montana got caught selling drugs. And I was like,
what in the world?
What is happening here?
Maybe, teaching piano is not as lucrative as it used to be. You got to start find some side revenue stream.
Yeah. The parents of kids that are taking lessons are like, I need something to get.
Right. Yeah. That's their main customers are the parents. There's one good way to double dip right there. That's good.
Yeah. But, so I didn't play anything, but I'd always wanted to, right? So went to college. I went to college here in Montana, played basketball in college, and then, got a job in Oklahoma.
Was that a basketball scholarship, or like, what was it that took you to Montana specifically?
Yeah, well, it was the school and basketball. So do my sales pitch from my alma mater.
Yeah, sure.
It's a small engineering school here in Butte. It's called Montana Tech. And it's been for the past like 20 years ranked on the list of, or like one of the top schools on the list of like most value, per dollar spent. It's like everyone gets engineering degrees and it's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be an engineer, and I wanted to play basketball. So the two things lined up.
Gotcha,
I wasn't. It's not like I was going to go play at Texas Tech or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I got you.
But so I have a petroleum engineering degree. So I started working for an oil and gas company, and I got them to let me do my field rotation in New Mexico, so I could live at home and
awesome,
save some money, and and it was cool. But and my wife was, or fiance at the time, she was still here to finish in school. So moved back in with my parents, and I worked all the time, and then I didn't have, like, this was the first time in my life I didn't have, I wasn't rodeoing or playing basketball, which filled up all of my extra time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to do something. I got to find something to do. And my dad,
I'm just imagining, like, one afternoon, your mom looks out the back window and there's a grown-up man version of Hart roping the dummy because he's got nothing else to do. And you're like, let's get that boy another hobby. My goodness.
Yeah. Really, not too far off. I was, we were had a weekend with my mom and dad in Ruidoso, which is like a ski resorty type town in southeast New Mexico. It was a long weekend. We went up there just to hang out and cool off because it was, 110 billion degrees in Carlsbad.
Yeah.
And we were like listening to some, just all sorts of different music. And I told my dad, like, I really want to play something. Like, I want to play an instrument. And my dad, this old cowboy guy, right? He grew up on a ranch. He was a cowboy for a long time until he married my mom. And she said, you need to go get a real job. And he was like, what if we played the bagpipes? Like, my dad said that to me. And, I'd always thought, because like everyone else, right? The uilleann pipes are so cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Sounds so neat. I was like, that's what I want to do. And we started looking into just like, at the time, right? Like, we're the same as every other layman in the world, like the bagpipes. They're all it's one thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we started looking into it. And, you see someone play the uilleann pipes, you're like, that's so cool. And you're like, there's a lot going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And so my dad, he like found this was like Pandora playlist time, right? So he found a like Royal Scots Dragoon Guards playlist or something and played that the whole weekend. And he just got on, I don't know, Henderson's or something like that, and bought the both of us a practice chanter in the Green Book.
Oh, so he wasn't going to wait around.
No.
As soon as that idea was spoken, let's do it.
Yeah. My wife and I are very indecisive. We, we'll hum and haw over something for forever. My dad does not do that. He's like, we made a decision. We're doing it.
So you had practice chanters waiting for you when he got home.
Exactly. Huh? Exactly. So I'm not real capable of like going like half into something. So, and like I said, I had always had something to dedicate like all of my spare time to. And I didn't really have that after I started working. And I was working I ended up at the time I was working a lot, like, probably no more than most people maybe, but it seemed like I was going towards the, like, what if I dedicated all my time to work, which didn't feel super healthy. So I started messing around on the practice chanter. My dad did it for like 4 days and was like, nope, not for me.
Yeah.
So my nephew has his practice chanter now.
Yeah. I'm glad it's still kicking around though. That's good.
But I like played for a little bit. I learned the scale, and I got to like burls in the Green Book or something.
Yeah.
And was like, what on earth? How is your pinky supposed to move like that? That didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I put it down until I moved. The company that I worked for, their headquarters were in Oklahoma City. So I finished my field rotation. I moved to Oklahoma, and my wife was like all wives of pipers, the most amazing people in the world. She's very understanding and forgiving.
Yeah.
She was like, you should do it. Go, find someone to play with. So I found a band there in Oklahoma. It's the Oklahoma Scottish Pipes and Drums, OSPD. That band, they're still kicking around, but a good chunk of their folks went to play with the Oklahoma Fire Pipes and Drums, which has done really well the last couple of years. So I started playing Beer Boy Brad. He was in the band.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So him and I are buddies. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I follow the Oklahoma Fire and Pipes on the socials. Yeah, I've seen some of their posts. Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned from them. They're great. They're a grade 5 band that took tuning, like individual tuning, especially really seriously, which I think was, really good building blocks. And then started taking lessons and competing and hadn't looked back since.
Did they have like an existing, like open to the public learning program, or did you have to kind of knock on the door and say, please, sir, may I have a lesson?
Yeah. In the middle ish, maybe. like they didn't do, I know the Chanter guys have talked about their band does like a open doors night type things. They didn't have anything like that, but, they, on their website, it said, they have like reach out for lessons or whatever. And then they did a free class. So you were in the chanter class. Well, I guess until you figured it out more or less, but, we met, one night a week, and it was as long as you brought your own practice chanter, it was free. And would work through a couple tunes. And
did you have were you part of a largish group of learners at the time, or were you kind of the one new guy in the band?
Nope. There was, no, it was great. There was, I don't know, 5 or 6 of us probably around the table, which was cool. They did the 2 of the band members taught the practice chanter class, and then they would go to the full band practice right after that.
Yeah.
And so, it was in hindsight, it was a really great way to get people, kind of interested in it, because you do your practice chanter, and the disconnect there, you're like, I don't want to play the practice chanter.
I signed up to play the bagpipes.
Yeah. And then you go listen to the band play, and you're like, okay.
Keep you excited. Keep you going.
Sure.
That's smart.
Yeah.
But, and I'm just curious, getting into the weeds a little bit here. Sorry, but I'm curious. Was it the same 2 people teaching every week, or was the band rotating who was teaching? And I'm not judging or anything. I'm just curious how people are doing it. That's all.
Yeah, it was the same 2. It was the same 2. Keith Robertson and Ella McDonald. And they were great. They, they're not like, they weren't necessarily the band's, top solo competitors or anything like that. They're just really good with people, really good, teaching the basics. And then
that's interesting. That's the skill. That skill set is important. You would think like you want the winningest piper to be teaching, but that's not always the case.
Right. And then, as soon as everyone got to a point where you could pick up the pipes, they had a beginner pipe class too.
Yeah.
So, and that was taught by people that were a little bit more successful there. But yeah, it was a really good way to get people interested and engaged, and then keep them engaged, right? Yeah.
No, this might be totally my own like ignorance and sampling bias, because of having spent a lot of time, in piping and stuff like that. I guess I end up consuming a lot of materials from the British Isles, and so it might be totally just my ignorance here, Hart. But your name, Hart, like that in reference to deer is something that in my head only happens in I think I've only come across it in stuff to do with bagpipe tunes in Scotland. You know what I mean? Is that just me, or is there some kind of family connection to Scotland there that comes into play as well?
Man, interesting. If you find some bagpipe tunes named Hart, let me know. That'd be fun.
I'll send you anything I come across. Sweet. Absolutely. Start a file right now.
Yeah. I'm trying to learn tunes that are named after all my kids.
That's smart and cool.
Get a family set list,
Yeah.
So I'm Hart the 4th. So it's a old family name. My dad, granddad, and great granddad were all named Hart. And my great granddad's mom, her maiden name was Hart.
Oh, I see.
So to carry the name on, because they, she was the last one, they named their oldest son Hart. And
gotcha.
Carried on since then.
Gotcha.
Last name is very English. Greenwood's a super English
name. Let me just. That's a cool name, Hart. You got a cool. Hart Greenwood. It all goes together in a nice way. It's almost like you could be a fictional character with a name like that. Like it feels very, very premeditated, very well put together. Hart Greenwood. That's a good name.
So I'll tell you a funny story about that. So keeping in mind, right, that my dad is so. And I don't want to paint my dad into a box. He's a cowboy.
Yeah.
He loves cowboy and stuff. He's also one of the smartest people that I know, and has, started his own very successful business, and super hard worker. So he's not one dimensional by any means, but keeping in mind that he especially at the time, he had just kind of finished being a full-time cowboy.
Yeah.
When mom got pregnant with me, and he's Hart the third, and he's like, we should name our son Hart the fourth. And my mom was like, no, absolutely not happening. But the doctor told them that I was supposed to be a girl, and he's like, he said, I have never been wrong.
Yeah.
And so my mom said, fine, on the off chance that it's a boy, we can name him Hart. And so I just picture, I'm born, doctor says it's a boy, and my dad's, doing his
Yeah.
So,
well, then I'll be filling out the birth certificate info.
Yep.
Oh, that's great. So then what did I guess you moved to Oklahoma. Had you not got pipes yet until you moved to Oklahoma then?
Yep.
And so what was that like to write home about it? Air quotes, write home, like the first time you went home and visited with the bagpipes.
Man.
Were your parents real excited? Was it a letdown when they're like, he's going to play bagpipes for us?
Yeah. I mean, it's you and Andrew talked about the like the pyramid of competence or whatever.
Oh yes,
right?
the hierarchy. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure the first time I went back and played for mom and dad, I was at the thinks he knows everything, knows absolutely nothing.
Yeah, the unconsciously incompetent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen some videos of me playing back then, and I'm like, oh man. Again, shout out to my wife who put up with me learning through all that, right? Because I practiced. I got up and practiced at 4:30 every morning, and just across the house, and she'd just roll over and put earplugs in and go back to sleep.
Wow.
And
what a supportive person.
Seriously, there's nothing in the world worse than someone learning the pipes.
I mean, did you have neighbors living close too?
No, we were in a small town outside of Oklahoma City called Choctaw.
Gotcha.
So we had like 5 acres ish. So lots of offset from the neighbors.
You truly have always been had some space around you, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah, we're in the same boat now here too. So
you only tortured your loved ones. You didn't torture the strangers around you.
Exactly. Yeah, until to bring the whole my dad's a cowboy story full circle, right? I played at my granddad's 90th birthday party back in New Mexico, and it's so my granddad, who was a cowboy, my dad, all of their cowboy friends, and they were like, we really want you to play, and I was like, I don't know if this is the crowd, but they were like, no, granddad really wants you to play. So I went and tuned up the pipes in the barn, and then walked out there to play. And I could just see all these old cowboy friends of my dad's looking at him going, what did you let your son get into? What is happening? And then I told the story about how it was my dad was going to do it with me, and it was all his fault. And they were like, what? Who are you? We don't even know who you are anymore.
Making him blush.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. Have you ever, by the way, I've grown up, I never did rodeo myself, but a lot of my friends did in high school and stuff. You might say that my childhood was cowboy adjacent, and so I've never really been able to own, wearing a cowboy hat, for example. I've got my grandpa's hanging on the wall. My head's too big for it. I do think about getting a resize sometimes, but the cowboy hats are awesome. The brim is so nice, so useful. Have you ever tried wearing one while playing the pipes? I've seen people do it, and I've thought, wouldn't that be nice, especially for funeral gigs where you're standing out in the rain or in the sun for a long time. I just can't get it to work because my bass drone's too close. I've never been able to get it to work. Yeah,
same here. I'm in the same boat. Especially, there's a reason that cowboy hats are popular in the West U.S., right? Because it's hot, the sun's beating down on you. They're just useful. They're useful. And
yeah, if you could wear one at the games, man, instead of what is the point of a Glengarry? I do
absolutely nothing.
What? I'll still get a sunburn and I'll be even hotter. What in the world?
Sweet sunburn line right across the top of my forehead.
Yeah, so if the rules say you have to have matching headwear, I'm like, well, cowboy hats would make a lot of sense. Shoot, sombreros. Forget that. Give me a sombrero.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. maybe the thing to do is to start cutting a custom, a custom cut for wide brim hats that just has like a
A
chunk
bass
cut
drum
out of it.
insert.
Yeah, yep.
That's great. I gotta put my head right here so that my bass drone insert
Yeah,
fits right
make it
in.
fit in, yeah. So now you got your kids in the mix too. Have you had good luck with your kids? Like, are you inoculating them to the bagpipes, or are they resistant to it, or do they love it? What's that like?
Poor children. I listen to pipe music all the time, right? Like
Mm.
it's it's I've made it like 100% my personality, right?
Yeah, you said you don't do
um,
things halfway.
no,
You dove in full.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
So like come like the World's Week, we're listening to Pipe and Life all week. I've got it
Mm-hmm.
as much as my wife can handle it. I have it on the TV playing, and
Mm-hmm.
um, my so they hear it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If I love my youngest little girl, and she sees me putting on a white button-up shirt, she's like, "Daddy played bagpipes,"
Oh yeah,
so she knows.
what it is.
And my oldest is a classic oldest child, right? Like he's a people pleaser, super sweet kid.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to be like dad, but he's trying to figure out who he is,
Yeah.
personally. So he's like, yeah, I want you to teach me to play the bagpipes, but I'm kind of waiting for him to like really push it. Like if this is something you want to do, then we'll
Yeah.
do it.
Yep.
And I tell all the kids all the time, which, I'm sure same as my dad's lecturing that goes in one ear and out the other,
Mm-hmm.
but it's, whatever you decide to do, just try to do the best you can at it and try to get 1% better every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I may not be the greatest person to teach my kids the pipes. I might push them a bit too hard, but all of them at some point have expressed an interest. My middle son tells me he doesn't like the bagpipes, but he wants to be a bagpiper when he grows up. So I'm not sure how to reconcile that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Tell me years from now, I hope to get an update somehow, Hart, if he doesn't end up playing drums.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm the only one who's observed that, like, how often in families where there's a piper, it's like, oh, the oldest child usually plays pipes, the second child usually plays snare, and it's a mix after that.
Yeah,
But my
exactly.
own kids right now, my oldest is the one who's gone the furthest with the practice chanter, and it seems to be most interested. My second son is just so into the idea of playing drums. And I'm like, man, it's proven true once again.
No, absolutely not. Like, my dad wouldn't let me play baseball growing up. I'm going to do the same thing.
There you
Like,
go.
nope, there will be no drumming in this house.
Yeah. You need that element for them to push back on. That's how they
Yeah.
grow up. Oh man. Well then, let's see. Do you feel like you're, like, having done sports, having done bagpipes? I was talking with, some I was really lucky this last weekend, got to go and hear Dive, the band Dive came through
Oh,
Utah. Yeah,
man, I'm
so cool.
jealous.
And it was kind of like they had a big show in Wyoming, and then they were headed to some bigger shows in Colorado. And so this was just a little house concert. I think there was like probably less than 50 people there. And so it was super chill, and that was like maybe extra cool because we got to hang out afterward and we are just talking. And a couple of the musicians were talking about competitive piping, fitting better in your head if you think of it as sports.
Mm-hmm.
And you've done sports between rodeo and basketball and probably other stuff too. Do you feel like it scratches the same itch? Does that ring true for you as well?
Absolutely. Yep. 1,000,000%. Absolutely. I'm probably the only person on the planet that would make this comparison, but basketball is one thing, right? Because there's obviously some individuality to it. You have to make yourself better. So maybe that fits better in with like pipe band stuff, but like solo competing is so similar to rodeo. It's crazy. And I've tried to tell my old rodeo friends that, and they're like, you're bananas.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine from their perspective, like, oh, it's hard. I haven't seen them in years. Like, let me tell you,
yeah,
bagpipes are just like roping a calf.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
like,
buddy.
Yeah, cool. Calm down. But it really is, because it's especially like solo competing. It's just you. You have no control over what your competitors do.
Mm-hmm.
Calf roping is the exact same way, right? I didn't ever team rope because the one time I team roped ever, I roped with my brother, and that was a disaster. Doing anything competitive with your brother is a mess, but
I bet. And it spills over, right?
Mm-hmm. But roping calves, it's like you can only make yourself better. And piping's solo competition's the same way. It doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, like I said, what anyone else does. And then you get, kind of one go at it per weekend. And then that's it. It's just that you step up there, do your thing, and then you just have to let things happen how they happen.
Yeah.
And the other like weird parallel too is that, so, like especially in the like competitive piping, they put us off in our own little like corner at most games. You play early in the morning before people have showed up. So a lot of times, and then like the rest of the games are all happening or whatever, and people walk over, and I'm sure they don't think to themselves like, oh, this is like, these people are taking this a lot more seriously than what, the rest of everything else that's going on there.
Yep.
And rodeo is the same way. I'd go to rodeo and I'm like in the zone. I'm there. I'm just like my dad. I'm there like 3 hours early for everything, and doing the same routine every time, doing the same steps, eating the same food, whatever, like trying to make everything as consistent as possible, which I do the exact same thing piping now. And I'd have, friends that would come out to watch or whatever, and they'd like come over and like try to talk and goof around or whatever. And I'm like, now I'm in the zone. This is what I'm doing. This is like, I'm here only to compete. And, I think a lot of people go to watch a rodeo and they're like, oh, this is like a circus act kind of thing. Right. Yep. And I think people view piping the same way. But then to the competitor, it's not like that at all. So it's crazy how many similarities there are between two very different subcultural things.
Yeah. I never would have thought to draw those conclusions, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, do you feel like even the judging and scoring kind of way of where you rank and all that, the way that the results are decided, I mean, that feels kind of similar too, doesn't it?
I didn't ever do any judging events in rodeo, like bronc riding or anything like that, so I'll let you into a subcultural inside joke. You'll be in on it, and whatever people
I'll look like I know what I'm talking
about. Timed event people don't get along with judged event people. They're a separate crowd. Yeah. Because timed events are like, there's no subjectivity to it.
Yeah. It's just beat the clock or don't.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but I think they're definitely, I think I would imagine that most judges have their like, not checklist maybe, but if your pipes sound good, and your technique is good, and like these are the objective or the subjective things that I can listen for. And then at some point when you're much better than me, I think that's where a lot more objectivity or subjectivity comes in. I've totally mixed those words around in my head now.
No, I mix those two words up all the time myself. So don't worry about it. I think we get what you're saying, Hart. Yeah, don't
Thanks.
That. Yeah. Especially being there and thinking about it ourselves. I think everybody gets what you're saying. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So then what, like, have you ever had the chance to bring those two worlds together? Have you ever played pipes in between events for a rodeo?
Oh, that'd be cool. No, again, I don't know how I'd bring that up with, hey,
listen,
rodeo folks, what if?
Yeah.
They're like, what if?
Just keep taking your pipes like to every rodeo you go to, and at some point the middle of the night entertainment is gonna, like, their truck will break down or something. They'll be like, we need something.
Someone come save us. People joke all the time about someone when your pipes aren't sounding good, someone's going to walk out and just poke a hole in your bag.
Oh,
That would
yeah.
absolutely happen at a rodeo. They'd be like, you're done now.
Sir, you've had enough.
Uh-huh.
Right on. So then what about going forward? Like, do you have any, well, actually, then let me not get too far ahead. Have you had any experiences with your piping that you look back on right now and you're like, no, that was a golden moment, or I'd love to relive that again?
Hmm.
And kind of, I guess, kind of related to that, what I was heading toward is like, what are you looking forward to in the near and distant future?
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, like I said, I really enjoy the competitive scene.
Hmm.
So when anytime that I've stepped up there and been able to like handle the nerves and play what I mean to play,
Yeah.
which, it doesn't always come out the way that I want it to.
Yeah.
But those are really cool. So Salt Lake 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, not last year, but the year before. I uh won I won the 6-8 march.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
it was cool,
My
but
favorite event, by
mostly
the way. I love 6/8 marches. They're
me
so
too.
groovy.
Underplayed.
Yeah.
I like 2-4 marches a little bit better
Mm.
personally, but I
Also fun,
both are
yeah.
great. Yeah. Um there's
Do you remember, by the way, what tune you played when you went there?
Miss Ishbel T. McDonald.
I don't know that one.
It's great. Really
Mm.
cool tune. Yeah. And one of the reasons that it really sticks with me is because the judge afterward, she said that was great, sounded great. That's one of my favorite tunes, and I think you really, did it right, or
Oh, way to
did it
go.
justice. Which
Yeah.
that at the end of the day, like, I can, if a judge is like, I enjoyed listening to that,
Yeah.
then that's, even if you don't place, I think that's super meaningful.
I agree with you. I mean, especially considering that these are people who have been playing a lot. They've listened to a
Yep.
lot, not just in their lives, but that day, you are one of how many that weekend? And so if you were able to do something that they actually enjoyed, that speaks pretty highly.
Yeah. And, I'm sure she, like, as soon as I walked away, it was out of her mind. But,
Mm.
but in the moment, and what she wrote down on my sheet was, was cool. And then
Mm.
I think, a lot of times I'm just like, I'm aiming for that. Like, I want to listen back to one of my own performances and go, man, I like that. Like, if I heard someone play that somewhere else,
Hmm.
I would go, oh, I really enjoyed listening to that,
Yeah.
Like I heard,
I,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead, Art.
I heard, Mike Swan play
Yeah.
last year in Salt Lake,
Hmm.
and his P-Rock was so nice. And it was,
Mm.
I remember listening to it and then going, man, I want to feel that way about
Mm.
my own music, like that's
Hmm.
really the end goal.
Yeah. Yeah, I love listening to Mike Swan play as well. But and I think part of it is that he puts a lot of time into like sort of things like trying out different bass drone configurations,
Mm.
really good pipe maintenance,
Uh-huh.
things
Uh-huh.
like there's a ton of this behind the scenes stuff that comes together to make like this really resonant sound. Yeah,
Yeah. His
I'm
pipe
with you there. Yeah.
sounded great.
Yeah. And so then what things are you looking forward to? Whether that's things you have planned for sure or just like vague desires like someday I'd like to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's tough when you have kids to like, I'm not going to dedicate too much of our family time to
Yeah.
our hobbies. It is, the Salt Lake games now are one of our family vacations.
If you can work that in, if you can double
Yeah,
dip that way, that's always smart. Yeah.
exactly. We have some friends that they lived in Salt Lake. They live in
Mm.
Tremonton. I don't know how you
Tremonton.
say it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You
They
can't
live
you
up there
can't
now.
you can't pronounce the second T.
Yeah.
Tremonton.
Tremont. And
Tremonton.
there aren't two E's in there either. Where's the
Nope.
tree?
Yep, that's right. Yep, we got a few of those around here. Yep.
But yeah, like I'd like to go to, I'd like to go to more games here in the US. I'd like to go to Pleasanton sometime.
Mm.
I would, you know, it'd be, it'd be neat to go compete in Scotland. I don't know that that's terribly realistic.
Mm.
It'd be at a minimum, I'd sure like to go listen to some competitions over there.
Yeah.
But like in the, like, I don't know, I have all sorts of dreams about, getting the piping community here in Montana, or at least around my hometown,
Yeah.
picked up. I think there's so many places up here that are so scenic and it'd be so neat to have a games. I have a good relationship with, there's a guy that owns a pub here in town. That, I don't know if you know this, but supposedly Butte is I forget how they say it. They call it the Ireland of the Rockies. And there's more like the percentage of Irish people or whatever here in town is higher than any place except Boston or something like that.
I did not know that. No.
Which percentage wise, I'm sure it's probably bigger, more than Boston now, but, yeah, it's like, so, they have this big, like, cultural Irish heritage thing, which I recognize has nothing to do with Scottish bagpipes, but most people don't know
there's
that.
Irish tunes you can play on those bagpipes.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah. The dude that owned that
there
pub.
are really good highland bagpipe bands in Ireland too. So
Yes,
it's all good.
I keep trying to make that point. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, St. Lawrence O'Toole is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll tell you what, Hart. There's you know what? Actually, now I think of it, no, it wasn't from New Mexico, Arizona, I think. Really nice lady who I worked with years ago, who I like a lot, and I think we'll never ever hear this podcast, so I don't mind mentioning this. But even if she did, I think she'd chuckle. She'd taken a trip to Ireland and really enjoyed herself and was showing me pictures and stuff afterward, knowing that I was a bagpiper, because of course I make it my entire personality, so nobody ever meets me without knowing that I'm into bagpipes.
I'm in the same
I was
boat.
like, oh, awesome. Did you hear some bagpipes while you were over there? And Hart, she looks at me like she gives me like this, like, oh sweetie, you poor dear, and she goes, oh, they don't really do bagpipes in Ireland. Like ignorant Jim. That's a Scotland thing, right? And I was like, and I very much will always avoid confrontation. So I just kind of went, oh, silly me. Okay.
Yeah. What a silly goose I am.
Yeah, silly me. Yeah, St. Lawrence O'Toole, right? They must have been from somewhere else. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. God. We saw Blackie O'Connell playing the
oh really?
night,
Yeah.
and we were staying in Doolin. It was the coolest experience. It was so neat.
I bet. I heard some story the other day about somebody accidentally stumbling into Blackie O'Toole's like childhood home and meeting their dad and stuff because they were gonna buy farm fresh eggs or something super random.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And well, sorry, I don't mean to that's me trying to make connections, not trying to adjust the focus of the conversation there.
No,
was
totally
Blackie
cool.
there for a concert and you guys knew about it, or was it a lucky accident that you came across the show?
No, so he it was just at a pub, session. We were staying in Doolin, and the reason we went to Doolin was because it was like, I just looked for like what's the highest likelihood of finding like a folk or like a pub, session.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, Doolin's the, I don't know if this is true. This is, this is touristy stuff, I'm sure, but it's the Irish trad capital or whatever. So we stayed there. Again, my poor wife, she puts up with a lot of stuff for me.
It's like if we could talk to her, she'd be like, I've never been interested in this stuff at all.
That's absolutely true. That's exactly true. Yeah. And so the best part about this whole deal is that we took a train from Dublin to Galway, spent a couple days in Galway, and then decided to drive from Galway to Doolin. And to get to Doolin, you have to go on this hill called Corkscrew Hill, which their roads, especially here in the Western US, we're used to like roads the size of houses, or
if it's not 3 lanes plus wide shoulders, I feel claustrophobic.
Exactly.
But I know what you mean. I see the videos of cars on those single lane roads, and I'm like,
yeah,
what do you do when you meet somebody coming the other way?
I know. Well, and we're going up this Corkscrew Hill, and like tour buses are coming down, and my wife is just like, she's having a panic attack.
Yeah.
We get to this Airbnb, and the lady that runs it, like, she's just amazing. I'm sure all Airbnb hosts you have to be very personable. But we walk in and she sees Keely, my wife, and she's like, "Oh, honey, you know, she's so pale. She's like, I was going to give you coffee, but here's some Baileys. I think you probably need this. Just sit down, relax." And then, 30 minutes later, I'm talking to the lady that's running the Airbnb, and, we came to listen to some music, and she was like, "Oh, go down to such and such a pub. Blackie O'Connell and his buddies play there every night."
She's like, just this local fella. I don't know if you ever heard of
Yeah.
him, Blackie O'Connell.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So we go down there, and sure enough, man, and he plays so fast. And at the time I was like pretty new into my own personal piping.
Yeah.
So, again, at the level of like, I think I know everything, but I know absolutely nothing.
Sure. Yeah.
And in hindsight, I'm like, he's playing jigs at like 140 or something ridiculous like that. I wish I could go back and listen now that I can appreciate a little bit more.
Sure.
We took a trip to Scotland, and I met a couple of the guys that play for Shots. And then, we just happened to be walking around Fort William when at the time it was Glasgow Police. I think they're Police Scotland Federation now or whatever, but they got off a bus to tune up before they were going to a castle to play a gig.
Just like
or
right in front of you,
that.
you're just like walking down the street, and then the bus starts unloading pipers.
Yes.
And you're like, I recognize that tartan. Wait a second.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. And I filmed them. You know how like when a band starts to tune up, they're all off playing on their own. They're playing totally separate things, but like their pipes are all like pretty good bands. Their pipes are all pretty close.
They're gonna be close anyway.
Somehow they pull them out of the box, and they're like way better tuned than mine ever are.
Even after an hour of like,
yeah,
I'm with you.
And they're like, dissonance was more musical than any music that I've ever personally made.
Well put. Yeah. So then I don't want to skip over this important detail of that little story. You say that they were getting out of the bus to go play at a castle or something.
Yeah.
That just adds this element of like otherworldliness. Like,
I know.
Oh, hey, yeah, we're just gonna go play some tunes at that castle there.
I'm sure people listening to this are like, man, he got sucked into the tourist trap hard. But that, like, we had just done this hike up, which if you haven't been to Scotland,
I haven't myself, no.
Okay, so it's like, I mean, obviously amazing for loads of different reasons. But we stayed in Fort William, did a bunch of hikes up and around there, like did Glencoe and stuff like that. Super cool, really pretty. Our mountains are bigger, us folks here in the Rockies,
Yeah.
But
just saying.
Yeah. So throw that out there. So we just finished this hike. And we're just walking through the town, just relaxing. The bus literally pulls up, pipers unload. They're all tuning, they're all playing, and I recognize that it's them.
Yeah.
And I'm like power walking to get over there as fast as I can. And my wife is like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "That's Glasgow Police." And she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah.
And so I walk up to this lady who I'm sure would have preferred not to talk to an American tourist at the time.
Yeah.
But I was like, "That's Glasgow Police." And she's like, "Yeah, cool." What? And I was like, "What are they doing?" And she said, "Oh, they're playing, I think it's Inverlochie Castle or something like that." These are her quotes. I could be wrong, but she said, she might have made this up for the American tourist that was bothering her, right?
No.
She said, "There's a bunch of Russian oligarchs staying at the castle, and they wanted a pipe band, so they called Glasgow Police, and they're like, 'Get up here and play.'" So they're not going to have time to tune at the castle, so they're all going to tune up here, jump on the bus, and go play for these Russian oligarchs.
These Russian oligarchs in the castle. That's delightfully insane.
Uh-huh.
What in the world?
it's not until repeating that story that I'm like, maybe she was just like totally stringing me on, like that had,
Hey, maybe, but at the same time, like, it's so crazy, it can't not be real, right?
yeah,
And I mean, I love the idea not only of, like, it keeps iterating as I try to imagine the circumstances that brought this all together, like, "Oh, they're Russian oligarchs having a weekend in the castle," and of course, if they're gonna get a pipe band, I'm imagining they're, drinking all weekend, it's like, "Hey, you know what we need? We're in Scotland, we need bagpipes." Well,
yeah,
let's not just get one random busking bagpiper, let's get a whole pipe band up here, not just any pipe
mm,
band, let's get one of the winningest pipe bands, like, let's get
yes.
Glasgow Police up here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and so I actually didn't think about this until a couple weeks ago. Gary West had a podcast. He interviewed Angus Nicholson, the
Mm.
pipe major of, I guess it was Strathclyde Police at the time, but you know, Glasgow Police, Police Scotland Federation, whatever. He lives just a couple doors down from the Airbnb we were staying at when we were in Fort William.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
suppose it makes sense that they were like, find a good pipe band. And they're like, well,
Mhm,
the pipe major of one of, to your, like what you said, the one of the
mhm,
winningest is right
mhm,
down the street. So
yeah. Man, and also, like, what kind of, like, oligarchs club are they hanging out in back in Russia where, like, a bunch of oligarch buddies are like, "Hey, let's do a boys trip to Scotland," you know?
sounds like any group of dudes ever, let's be
Right.
honest. Like,
"We're
and
gonna
then
rent
you
a
don't have to,
castle."
yes, every guy group ever has had that same conversation. Guys, what if we rent a castle? We go to Scotland. We're gonna stay in this castle. We're gonna go golfing, and we're gonna listen. We're gonna get this
We'll get
super cool bagpipe
bagpipes.
group.
Yeah.
And maybe that part doesn't happen in every boy chat conversation,
Mhm,
but
yeah. Oh, that's excellent. So magic that sounds like it was a magical trip. And
it
to
was
your
cool.
point, like I do think like I don't know if it's at all relatable to you, but my wife and I like, especially when we're trying to put kids to sleep and stuff and in the evenings, we'll often or like while we're folding laundry, things like that, put on like a little video to enjoy while we're doing that. And
Uh-huh.
really often it is like a walking tour of some mountain in Scotland or something like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yep.
So we have our little bucket list of hikes we'd like to do if we can ever get over there. And and my wife has said before, like, it looks so nice. I think we could do it too. Because, where we live, we do a lot of hikes, but there are some that we can't do with little kids and we ourselves are getting older and stuff like that, But like I don't mean to sound like I'm poo-pooing the mountains in Scotland, but it looks doable by
Uh-huh.
comparison. It's like, well, if we can stay in condition as it were by doing the easy hikes back here, and be okay to get over there.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And but as a dad, you'll find this relatable. So we're on this trip, and this was pre-kids for us.
Mm.
But ever since this, I've said like, oh, we gotta take our kids back when they're older,
Mm.
because that'd be so cool. But we were we were eating dinner at this restaurant in Oban, um, and you could just tell there's this American dad that they had just got there, and I don't
Mm.
know how they had just got to Oban because it's not like you can fly into Oban,
Mm.
but this was like had to have been their first or second day in Scotland, because the dad is sitting at this table talking to his 15-year-old son who could not care less. Like
Eh,
he's
Such a 15-year-old son.
yeah. And the dad is like he is living his absolute dream. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, the waitress comes. He's like, do you guys have tenants? Can I have a tenants? Oh, I've been waiting. Oh, God, you can't get them in the U.S. And he's like, son, we're gonna do this, and it's gonna be so great. We're gonna do that. And the son's just like, ah. And ever since then, I'm like, I'm gonna do the exact same thing to
Yeah.
my kids.
Yeah.
Absolutely gonna do the same thing.
Mm. It's a formative experience, right? It's like
Yes.
it'll be like the culminating experience for the dad, for yourself, and then also like one of those formative experiences for your children as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Full of teenage eye rolls and
Yes. Yeah. Oh man. So I know this will change over time, Hart. So don't feel like you're like locked into this, but at least for now, are there any bands, individual players, etc., that really get you excited that you really
oh
love
yeah.
listening to? just because like I'd love to know, spread me out a little bit, give me a little bit more of things to listen to. And aside from that, also any favorite tunes, like tunes that that you love playing or that you really want to learn. I'd love to
Yeah.
hear anything about that kind of stuff from you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, okay, I can answer two of those questions with one answer. So Ross Miller plays Inver Gordon's Welcome. The tune title is like 15 paragraphs long. It's like Inver Gordon's Welcome to Queen Elizabeth, Her
Yeah.
Majesty,
One of those.
whatever.
Yeah.
But he, the first time I saw him play, I was just watching the Winter Storm live stream. And he played that march, and like he was so happy playing it. And
Yeah.
like, you can't like dance when you're playing the pipes, especially like in competition.
Mhm.
But it like, I've never seen someone like enjoying their music so much. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I want to be. I want to listen and be like, man, I'm digging the music that I'm making. Like, he was just having fun. It was so cool. And so every time I listen to any of his music, I'm like, this is awesome. And then he also, there's a video on YouTube of him playing Inverurie Castle, the Strathspey Bay, and it's the same way. It's so cool. Just and part of that, both tunes are great. But a part of that could be just like how much joy he brings into it.
Yes. I've felt that way too. I'm sure we're not the only ones. Like,
oh yeah,
Russ, if we can find some of the winningest bagpipers, we could also find some of the smilingest bagpipers, right? And
like him and
Ross
Fred
Miller's
Morrison, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Two people who are clearly having a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then there's a YouTube recording of Donald McPherson in the 90s playing it piping live. And at the end of this, and I forget, he was older at the time that he played it, but I mean, his pipes were amazing, fingers were amazing. The recording itself, like you could tell they didn't have a fancy, modern mic, but it still sounded wonderful. And he plays the Pibroch Lament for Donald Dougal Mackay at the very end. So he's played for an hour. Somehow his pipes are still like uber stable. And when he plays that,
like, and now I'll do a Pibroch.
Right. Yeah, of course, as one does, and the in this YouTube recording, the harmonics on his F and D are so like outstanding that I just rewatch that all the time. And my kids are like, I am so tired of this one Pibroch. Like, we don't like it anyway.
You're not even obsessing over a tune. You're obsessing over a note.
Yes, absolutely. Every time it plays, you're like, God, that is so cool. And I've had that happen to me one time, like when I was playing just here in my practice room.
Yeah.
Where I played an F and I could hear like all those harmonics, and I'm like chasing that high ever since,
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you feel like, have you played Pibroch yourself?
The past 3 years I started playing.
It's something that I think about it all the time. I really haven't. I've pulled out music a couple times and started looking at them and listening to them, but I've definitely never competed, never learned one all the way through. But I feel like I should. It seems like that's a thing you should do, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the band that OSPD, the band that I learned with, I don't think any of them played. And then one of the guys that I like, love him to death, great dude. And he plays in Oklahoma Scottish Fire Pipes and Drums or whatever that band's name is now. But he called it pea broccoli.
Pea broccoli.
Yeah.
You got to eat your peas and broccoli.
Yeah, exactly. So they didn't really like it, but I've always liked, it's like esoteric, I guess, but I'm like, I can see this. I can get it.
Yeah.
And then Simon Fraser, they played the Field of Gold, that's what I'm competing with this year.
Oh, cool.
And they, as a band, they played it, and you're like, I mean, it was cool. It was way cool, right? but it wasn't really until, I think everybody probably says this, it wasn't really until I started playing it that I was like, oh, I actually I really do like this. And
Mm.
I'll listen to recordings of it now a lot more than I did before I started competing with it. So it's kind of a
Mm.
chicken and an egg thing. Gotta,
Yeah.
you almost have to start playing it to get really into it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
No, I
not
think
true
that
for
makes
everybody.
sense. I think that makes sense. Yeah. I feel like that is the case with some of the best things in life. I think my wife and I sometimes go and do like historic social dance things together,
Yeah,
and it's like a lot of like folk dance, square dance, circle dance, that kind of stuff.
sure.
That is, like admittedly not the funnest thing in the world to watch as far as performative dance goes.
Mhm.
But then when you do it, it's so insanely fun that then
Yeah,
you enjoy watching it because then you got an idea of what it's like.
yeah,
I think that's a real thing
absolutely.
that happens. But
And
I
I,
didn't mean to distract you either, Hart, from recommendations for your favorites,
oh,
artists, bands, and tunes.
um, so, but no, and interrupt away, right? But the I feel this is so great. Just as a sidebar, this whole
Yeah,
conversation is so great because like I living here in the middle of nowhere, I don't get to talk about bagpipes with people ever.
of
So this
course.
is
Yeah,
what a
yeah.
great conversation. Great way to start a Saturday morning.
Oh,
Um,
good. I'm glad.
I I found a meme that I put on my Instagram page somewhere that's like when you show up, it's like it shows this bagpiper guy that's sitting there all sad or whatever.
Yeah,
And it says when you show up at a party to talk about bagpipes and no one wants to talk about bagpipes.
yeah. Which is every party any bagpiper ever goes to.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but I put way too much thought and time into like what my like if I had someone like that had never heard bagpipes before and for whatever reason I could coerce them into listening to
Yeah.
my recommend like I have this like scale of like introduction to bagpipe music that I would recommend to people.
Oh,
And
yeah.
shockingly, no one's ever asked for that playlist before. I don't know why. But
You
like
haven't had a person come up to you and say, Hart, I really want to get into bagpipes.
where should I start? And then how
Yeah.
should my progression look? Uh, but I'm sure it's the same as what yours would be. Like I love dive. They're so good.
Hmm.
The and then like uh Braybach or however you say their name, I'm sure they're like in the same bucket, like
Mm.
lots of accompanying instruments plus bagpipes. You don't have to listen
Yeah.
to the bagpipes if you don't want to, right?
Mm.
Um and then like James Duncan McKenzie, both of his albums they're so good. He's such a good piper, and he brings a lot of like what I would think is like it if you were to time travel back 50 to 100 years or whatever to like the Outer Hebrides, like I think the way he plays and his like historical context is very similar to like what it would have been back then,
Mm.
which I think is really cool. But he all of a lot of his music is his own and is new, and um, I think he's great. He's tons of fun to listen to. If
Hmm.
you haven't seen it on his, this is super weird, and if you're saying this about anything other than a musician, I think it'd be very really creepy, I guess. But on his Facebook page, he posted a video of uh, the music, and he helped with the music and video for some like Outer Hebrides historical project thing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's got like old video clips of like people playing pipes in the 20s and, you know, um, Lewis and Harris and stuff like that. And it is so cool. It's
Mm.
so neat. Uh, so love listening to him play. Um, and then like, obviously like, you can't get enough of like Stuart Little
Of
um,
course. Yeah.
and then the bands every year I love listening to um, all their competition stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, City of Invercargill did it in the New Zealand Championships 2 or 3 weeks ago or whenever that was. Their
I
medley
listened in
was
casually, but
sweet.
yeah, I'm gonna look them up right now because I don't know if the medley you're talking about is one I would have caught.
They had
Invercargill, you said?
yep. They're I can probably send you the link to it too. Um, their medley's so cool. It's way cool. It's
I
way
got it.
different too.
It popped right up.
Yeah.
I'll definitely dig into that. My friend Andrew O'Sullivan, the last several years has been like an excellent, like I can almost just I don't even have to think about when the New Zealand games are happening, because he'll just like message me like, "Hey, you excited about New Zealand? It's starting this weekend," you know, that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And so, and he did remind me of it this year. Not that I would have like forgotten about it, right? It would have popped up on various
Yeah.
feeds that I have and stuff
Yep.
anyway, right? But you know, first reason to have it in mind is a message from Andrew saying like, "Hey, it's coming up," you know.
That's
And
awesome.
and so I started dipping in, but it was like it was like during work, you know. I was like, "Oh, I wonder what I could listen
Mm.
to," and I haven't had the chance to go back and listen to everything yet. So
I'm very fortunate to have a job where I listen to music all the time.
mhm.
I'm one of those, like, I have to listen to music working,
Oh, I'm
which,
with you there. I've got music pumping all the time. It
yeah,
drives
I
some other
have
people
to.
crazy, but
Yeah. When we were working remote, working from home full time, I listen to music all the time, and my wife likes it. I tease her that she likes working in a mausoleum. It's just dead
yeah,
silent,
yeah,
and I'm over there like tapping my feet, and she's like, "You are the most annoying person to work with."
yeah.
but but I'll listen to like the New Zealand championships are great because they're on like Thursday and Friday for us, right? But Friday and
Mhm,
Saturday for them. So I can listen to it at work,
mhm.
or just like have that playing, which is
Yeah,
this piping live's the same way. I get up and go to work and just listen to piping live
mhm.
stream stuff all day during work. It's great.
Yeah, now, Hart, will you, I've already taken more than an hour of your time, so I don't mean to take up your whole weekend, but I am curious if you'd be into nerding out a little bit about
Yep.
your instrument right now. Like
Sure.
what are you playing in terms of like which type of drones and which types of reeds and stuff, and what have you tried, and are there things that you think would be really cool to try as well?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm not, we were talking about Mike Swan earlier, and how you were saying how he likes to tweak stuff to get that ideal
Yeah.
sound. I think that's super cool. I am not like that. I'll change stuff once a year, and then
Mhm.
like I try to get something that's going to be consistent and stable for me. And then
Mhm.
um, so right now I'm playing McCallum pipes, and G1 gold, I think. Yeah. The
Mm.
gold chanter. Um, with and my drone reeds are the canared, can't remember if the edge or the evolution, but the ones with the Allen key.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You
I
can
like
change the
that. I think
strength,
that's
but
cool. Yeah.
it's so great. And I think I like um Andrew Douglas would be, it goes against his like simplicity,
Sure.
model or whatever. But um I'm so like the sidebar again. I had a geology professor in college that called me heavy-handed Hart because we'd have to draw contours and stuff. So, and I'd like super thick, ugly, gross lines, and he's just like, I have to grade this later. So I'm not very like I'm not very I don't have a lot of finesse when it comes to moving
So do you
bridles.
think putting that Allen wrench between you and the reed maybe is a really good idea?
Million%. It
Yeah.
is, yeah. Otherwise, it's like my reeds are off or all the way on. Like the
Yeah.
bridle, I can't move it just a little bit.
My
Um,
my my good friend who's probably the best piper I've ever known, personally, directly, always, well, maybe not always, but always that I can remember that I was aware of was playing those Canarid Evolution reeds. And so I have them in my mind as like the standard. Like someday when I'm good at bagpipes, then I'll deserve to play those kind of thing, you know. But I've seen the edge ones around that you're talking about that have the Allen wrench, and I do think I think that kind of I just think there's something cool about it. I like Donald Lindsay did one of the Lindsay system chanters with built-in Allen wrenches, and I don't know. There's something. Maybe it's just the aesthetics of it, but I do find that attractive. I think that's cool.
it's been good for me because of the bridal
Hmm.
movement thing. And
Yeah.
your interview with Don Lindsay was so cool. That was
Oh,
a
did you
great.
enjoy that?
No, that was awesome. It was
Oh, well,
cool.
it's because he's so cool. I can't believe what all that person gets up to. I mean,
Oh,
so many
unreal.
projects all the time. It's amazing.
No, move to Ascension, just
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
Um, and then what else was I playing? I
And by the way, is your G1 is your chanter? I don't even know if they. I'm not even sure if they do that in both poly or Delrin and Blackwood. But is it all Blackwood all the time for you, or are some of these parts plastic?
No, my chanters have been plastic for forever.
Mm-hmm.
I played a Blackwood chanter for solos, and this is maybe one of those things I should look back into because I played it when I was just starting,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it I don't know, high G's, you know how it is here.
Oh yeah,
My high G was so sharp in that chanter that
yeah,
it scarred me for life.
yeah,
I
yeah.
started
That
playing that. Go ahead.
just the Angus with dive. He was telling me like because I was asking him how his pipes were behaving at higher altitude and being dry and everything, and he was telling me it's the G's. I can never get the G's are. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad to know it's not just
Yep.
if you also are having a hard time with G, yeah, that's. I told him I was like I think a lot of people when they get chanters here, they don't even you don't even need to play it first. Just get your Dremel out and drill that G hole
Yep.
down because there's just no point.
Uh, Biola played here in Butte
Mm,
for Folk Fest 2 or 3 years ago, and poor guy, I caught Matt McIsaac as he's walking to the stage, and I was like, "Are you Matt McIsaac?" And he's like,
yeah.
you know, "Yeah." And I got to talking to him, and they were great. And I was like, "How'd you find tuning here?" And he was like, "It's awful. We're I don't know what you guys are at elevation wise."
I'm about 5,000 feet where I live.
Okay. So well, maybe just a skosh higher, but
Yeah,
dry. And
yeah.
I remember when I did the dojo for a while. And at one point, Andrew said, "You shouldn't have any tape on your high G." And I'm like, "You are bonkers. What witchcraft are
Yeah.
you doing?"
Oh man. Yep,
I'm sure
yep.
he could come, and if he'd come fix my chanter, that'd be great. If you could take
Yeah,
all the tape off G, that'd be awesome.
yeah. We're a misunderstood lot. Hart,
Uh-huh.
us well, yeah, we're
Yeah,
evolved.
those
Yeah,
two. Yeah.
us high elevation pipers. I do have the. Oh, it's not right here next to me, but the I'm gonna have to cut this hemming and hawing out so that I don't so that it doesn't sound like I can't remember which it's not Joe Brady works with which pipe
McClellan.
manufacturer? McClellan, that's right. The McClellan elevation chanter.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. I have one of those because I was like, oh sweet, this will be awesome. And I did kind of like not really expecting him to do anything about it, but I did kind of like write in or maybe I put on social media or something like, do we have like a extra high elevation chanter in the
Yeah.
works by chance? And they were
I
like, well,
don't,
Adrian Melvin makes these reeds that'll help. And I got some of those. I was like, yeah, maybe that's a little better, but could we go a little further?
yeah. What if you guys moved to Utah or Montana or
There you
whatever for
go.
a year and then everyone would be like, "Oh, I get it now."
Yeah, make one up here and then use
Yeah.
that as the template. That would be great.
Yes. Yeah. I started playing the Yuri Chisholm has he works with Melvin.
Mm,
I think he calls them foundation reads or something like that.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think all that's going on is you pay a little bit more for someone who knows what they're doing to get a batch of reads, find some that work, tweak them
Mm,
if they need to,
yeah.
and that's been so cool because it's like I'll buy 4 reads and all 4 of them for the first time ever, all 4 of them work, you know?
That seems like that would be worth a premium price for sure.
Yes. And I've had one of those things that's like, man, what am I going to do if he goes out of business? I'm going to have to start working with my own reads
Yeah.
again. What a disaster.
Man, it's so funny. Jeremy Kingsbury, who does
Uh-huh.
the Way Too Twags Bagpipe and History podcast, he and I were chatting at the beginning of the pandemic lockdowns. And it's so funny that the conversation was immediately like, do you have enough reads? Right? Both of us were like, well, of course I need food for my family, but also where am I going to get my reads? Like how long will this
Man,
last? Do I have enough on hand?
it's sad. It's sad to think about how often if every dude, right, goes through the whole in a post-apocalyptic world, how are we
Yep.
in the family going to survive? And I'm
Yeah.
like, we in the family going to survive? And then also, how am I going to get bagpipe reeds?
Yeah. How
How
will
am
I
I
keep my
actually make,
pipes going?
what am I going to do? That's top of the priority list, you know?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. I have a sister-in-law who is an oboe player, and I gather that it's typical for oboe players to kind of be reedsmiths. Like
That's what I
like
heard.
like most oboe players have some kit, if they're
Uh-huh.
playing even in high school, but anything beyond high school, they're going to have like some shavers and, some amount of equipment to at least adjust their reeds. And I look at that, like oboe reeds aren't that different from Highland bagpipe
Right.
reeds. And I just think like, I don't want to put anybody out of business, but I'm just like, what? Maybe I'd like to be a little bit independent in that, like to be able to at least save a reed better than I can right now. So maybe I'll try to learn something from her.
A lot of those like older guys say like you just have to ruin a bunch of reeds to learn how to
Yeah.
work with them, you know? And
Mm,
I just am not quite that secure in, first of all, like I said, I'm super heavy handed. So
yeah.
I'd shave everything off. And then secondly, like I'm not that financially secure that I can go,
Yeah, that too.
ruin 10,
Yeah.
$20 reeds.
Yep. Yeah, that's the level of prosperity we all wish to achieve, right? Is
Yes.
the I can ruin a reed money.
Reeds are meaningless.
Yeah.
That's Russian oligarch money.
That's right, yeah. They're probably up there throwing reeds out the windows.
Yeah.
Uh, well, Hart, what else, like, is there room for other stuff in your life right now, or is it just like work, family, and bagpipes? Like, I mean, like with the uilleann piping, I guess that's still bagpipes, but like, is that still kind of in the back of your mind? You want to learn to play uilleann pipes at some point in your life?
Man, I so I mean, yeah, I think I'll probably answer this the same way Trevor did because I
Mm,
think you asked him the same question. And like, yeah, I think that'd be awesome. But like, I have a set of small pipes that I don't really play
mm-hmm,
now, and it's what I've kind of come to terms with is that like I actually listened. We went to a church service a couple weeks ago where
mm-hmm.
the preacher talked about like it's okay to recognize when you're at capacity.
Mm,
And my wife looked at me and she
that
was like,
seems really wise.
you're at capacity."
It's also okay to recognize when your spouse is at
Yeah,
capacity.
yeah, exactly. But like, we do the dad and work gig. I put kids to bed and I go practice.
Yeah.
And so I usually get, between 30 minutes and an hour of practice every day. And when it comes down to it, it's like, okay, I can work on this stuff. Cause I think where I'm at really now is less on the like new instrument stuff. And like, I just have so many tunes that I'd like to learn
Yeah.
and like, and get them also to a point where again, I listen back to them and I'm like, I liked the way that sounded,
Yeah.
Um, so that's really where there's so many great tunes out there. And
Yeah.
I want to get to the point where I can be like you and just flip through tune books and play a bunch of
Y
tunes. And
you're overkind to me, overkind to me.
well, we both know the
But
truth.
well, I hear that. And I'm not saying that I'm wise anyway. Rather, I think I push myself over capacity too often, or I
Mhm.
just don't have enough gumption to keep up with it. Something, one or the other. But I try to remind myself because I often catch myself like window shopping for, you know, gaitas or
Uh-huh,
uilleann pipes or
uh-huh,
something. And
uh-huh.
so it's like I'm not even just imagining spending money on something I could play. I'm imagining spending money on something that will require hundreds of hours, you know. I'm
Yeah.
fantasizing to orders of magnitude beyond reality, you know. And I try so hard to remind myself like, hang on a sec. The best bagpipes the best bagpipes you could have are the ones you already have. Go
Uh-huh,
play those. Stop
uh-huh.
spending so much energy like dreaming of something you don't have, you know?
I
I have to
definitely do
remind
that with
myself
like,
often though.
I do the same thing with like, you know, oh, what if I tried this, wouldn't it be cool to have a set of McClellan pipes
Mhm.
or whatever, like try that new
Mhm.
chanter. And it's like, man, I could do that, which I'm sure would be super cool, but,
Mhm.
I'll have that thought and then I'll go have a practice where the pipes that I have just,
Mm.
that one practice, they get locked in. It's like golf, right? You hit
Oh,
that one
sure.
great shot, and you're like, I can keep doing this forever.
That'll keep you going for another 100 bad shots for sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And the pipes will sound good. And I'm like, these are great. What am I
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
Why don't you just learn some tunes? You know?
Which, by the way, are you on the first set? Like, is it the first set of pipes you ever got?
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
I'm also still playing the first set of pipes that I ever got. My parents
Nice.
bought them for me used when I was a kid. And
That's awesome.
yeah, they're great. They're very normal, and that's great.
Yeah,
You know, it's
absolutely.
totally fine. Oh, well, Hart, what else? Like, you know, we're probably hitting a decent episode length, but I don't want to push us to a close. And of course, I can make a little edit to make this graceful. You know, kind of
I
bring
love
it
the way you do
together.
that. Just fade out. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, you know what that is. That's born out of necessity or inability because I just didn't know what to do to end the first episode, and then
That's
I'll just stick
ideal.
with it. Yeah,
That's great.
but just you know, like any other thoughts that are on your mind, whether it's you don't feel like you have to be profound, but like you know things that you think about with piping or ideas or funny jokes or just anything else a story, anything else you want to
Yeah.
talk about. And I'm not pushing out either. I'm here for it. So
No, for sure.
just head toward that. Yeah.
So I was thinking about this too, because I before we started talking, because I was
Mhm.
like, you know, obviously like I really enjoy the competition aspect of piping, but like
Mm.
no one gets into something because they just like, oh, the music's whatever. But I just wanted to compete at something like, you
Yeah.
know, there was a point where like I heard someone play in person, and it like, you know, it like hits you, right? And
Mhm.
you're like, man, that is so cool. The first time it ever happened to me, it was that band that I learned with. There's a guy named Paul Sinclair who taught me quite a bit also, and um, he his pipes were, you know, I don't think he ever competed past grade 4, maybe if he ever competed solos. But his pipes always sounded really nice. Drones were always really well tuned.
Mm.
Chanter was always really well tuned. And the first time I heard him play by himself, man, that sounds good. Like
Mm.
you're very fulfilling, you know? And I was like, that's really why I play. You know, I like to play for judges because I like to make myself better, and it gives
Mm.
me a reason to like focus on stuff and aim for those like 1% per day improvements. But there's a pub here in town, like I was saying earlier, that I have a good relationship with the owner.
Mhm.
And he has me come play there quite a bit. And I'm like, this, at the end of the day, I want to go play a tune that's not Scotland the Brave, not Amazing Grace, like
Yeah.
one of these like good piping tunes, like a good solid 2/4 march. I know that's weird,
Mhm.
but like there's some of, you know, you hear a good player play a good 2/4 march and you're like, man,
Yeah.
that's cool. And that's like, you know, soul fulfilling. And I want to go, like, I want to, if I could just bring one other person that experience at some point
Mm.
where they're like, man, I want to hear good pipes again. You know what I mean? Cause like that was cool. So that's
Mm.
like what I aim for. I'm not sure that I ever achieve that necessarily. And I'm not sure you ever break through the wall of like, oh, this is the bagpipes and that guy's playing the bagpipe song. Right.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. That does happen, man.
But I feel like you can't, if Stuart Little was to come play at the same pub, right?
Yeah.
Surely there would be, everyone in there would be like, this is something special, right? Like that's
Yeah. Maybe they wouldn't have the vocabulary to put their finger on why, but there'd
right.
be something to it that would come
Yeah.
through.
I wouldn't expect him to say like, oh man, his D throws are way better than that other bagpiper that's playing here all the time,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
But the pipes sound good. You know, the tune is, I'm not even gonna say like well expressed or whatever. Oh, my computer's gonna die on me now.
I still got you at least for
Okay.
now.
But yeah, I like get people to leave with at least some sense that like the pipes are more than just what you hear on during St. Patrick's Day parades.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting. Does that it makes me wonder, and I don't mean to be putting words into your mouth, Hart, so feel free to push back on this, but it's an angle that I hadn't thought about before. where it makes me think like, oh, competition being fun and interesting in its own right, but also competition maybe could be, at least for some of us, a tool that helps us to get closer to the actual goal. And the actual goal would be what you're describing, the
1,000,000%.
creating amazing music.
Yep, absolutely.
Mm.
Because like, if I never went to compete, I would never, if someone never told me like, hey, your drones weren't quite locked and,
Mm.
your like doublings are slurred or whatever, right? If you never hear that, then when you would never you'd never try to fix that in your normal piping. And
Yeah.
then that, like, sure, those are like little things that the general public's never going to pick up on. But like when Stuart Little plays, his drones are always locked and his doublings are never slurred. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Those little things add up, don't they?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and that, like, you put all those things together that the judges tell you to do when you go play, even if it's just Scotland the Brave or whatever for someone else, like
Hmm.
that to me has to be the difference between like a meaningful experience for the listener and just the bagpipes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is, I really think that's very insightful, Hart. I mean, I feel like maybe it's not the case, but I think most of us do find ourselves pulled between these. Maybe it's a false dichotomy. These two things where it's like compete for sake of competing versus art, music
Yep.
for sake of music. And sometimes it's like, well, sometimes I feel motivated for one versus the other. Sometimes I feel jaded by one versus the other.
Sure.
I think that's a really insightful and exciting way to kind of fuse the two together.
Where you
I
think
like
about
that.
like one of the most popular competition stress bass, right? Susan McLeod. That
Hmm.
people play Susan McLeod all the time. Um, that you it's the reason people play it all the time. I mean, it's good for competition. It fits the competition mold, but like it's a good tune, right?
Hmm.
So if I probably to the chagrin of people listening to me, I probably play too many stress bass and reels and stuff when I'm playing
Hmm.
just like normal pub sessions or whatever.
Hmm.
And a lot of times they're competition stuff, but like I think they're good tunes and competition or not. Like if I feel like anyway, if I play them well, then people they may not recognize like, oh man, the expression in that first bar was,
Yeah. Right.
but they'll go like, wow, that was fun. I had my foot tapping. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
There's a good test for whether or not it's working, right? Are the feet tapping?
Yep. I actually played before the Montana Hamilton games last year. I called that guy at the pub and said, "Hey, can I just come play my competition stuff for people
Yeah.
at the pub because I need to get out in front of people?" He was like,
Oh,
"Yeah,
good way to
sure
work through
thing."
the nerves. Yeah, man. That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
it was awesome. It was really cool. And the family came with me, and I was like, "What'd you guys think?" And they're like, "Yeah, sounded pretty good." Saw some feet tapping, had a couple people, smile and clap. And at the end of the day, I figured that's a decent sign that things are headed the
Yeah.
right way.
Yeah, absolutely.